Just a reminder, this is not security. This is just silly stuff. Right, if you've seen me present before, I do shit like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Not too much. I'm not doing very much in this one. So this is about, guess what? This is about me. So, mid-50s, midlife crisis. I've gone from being sort of rather fat, unfit, wandering around sort of slob to an age group international track. Yeah, it's quite exciting, isn't it?
Best slide of the world ever.
This is me. I'm Ryan Reynolds' body double. So, I mean, why am I here? I mean, yes, I've done security for years. I've kicked around InfoSec and IT for donkeys. So very importantly, this is the kind of stuff that we would do all the time, isn't it? We do lovely, security awareness training. Right, that was the Humphreys, and she's not bloody here.
I'm doing a rickroll today already.
Right. So, this is also me. Since 2011, I've been an age group triathlete, which means I go off and do triathlons all over the world, which is quite fun. And it's kind of expensive and silly, but I'll tell you all about that. Firstly, what is triathlon? Right, these are the official descriptions. So, an endurance multi-sport race, swimming, cycling and running over various distances. And there's also different times. If you fancy having a go, but you don't swim, you might choose to do duathlon. I'm quite keen on aquabike, because I'm not a very good runner. But there's ways of getting into this. How do I get into it? Distances. Super sprint, this is where I miss my notes now. 400 metre swim, a 10k bike, 2.5k run, and then they basically double up on that. So a 750 metre swim, 20k bike, and a 5k run. Standard, which is what I tend to spend my time doing, which is a 1500 metre swim, 40k bike, 10k run. The middle distance is when you start getting up to half Ironman and Ironman. So the half Ironman, get it right, is a 1.9k swim, 56 mile bike and a half marathon. This is where it gets silly, because you go off from metric into imperial. The T100 is a new event. It's a 2k swim, an 80k bike, and an 18k run. That's been pulled out for the Pro Series, so they've got a long course event to do. And then there's the full course, the Ironman, which has got various names. You can't use the word Ironman because that's branded. So anything you'll see on training courses that say, "Oh, you could learn to do an iron distance training course." No, you can't anymore. It's now you've got to refer to it as a long course. 140.6 is also branded, as is 70.3. This is just money-making bastards and marketing. But that's 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and full marathon. And then you go to the really serious, where people do double Ironman or triple Ironman or deca Ironman. There's the Arch to Arc, which is an incredible event, which is you start at Marble Arch in London, you run to Calais, you swim the Channel, and you cycle from Calais to Arc de Triomphe. And I did know somebody who did it, but unfortunately he then died doing the Channel swim. But he was the 11th person to have done it. So it's not very many people have done Arch to Arc. There's only about 19, I think, have done it overall now. Bloody stupid. So let's focus on this sort of area.
I feel guilty for eating a cookie. I should try.
Just shove in. We'll get onto that later. We'll do nutrition. So what's the difference between elite athletes? Well, obviously, they're bloody amazing. Para-tri and age group, which is what I do. I mean, firstly, elites, they're all in their 20s. They're young, fit, and healthy, and super. You'll see these on telly doing the Olympics and stuff like that. And people said, "Why aren't you in the Olympics then?" Well, This is why. So very fast. They swim bloody fast. Then they have a drafting bike. So they're all huddling around together. It's multi-lap. And then they're very, very fast runners. If you look at the speed of someone like Alex Yee on a 10K run, after he's done everything else, he's running at track world pace. So if you think of the 10K on the track, these guys are running on the road at very, very nearly that track pace. It's multi-lap. It's designed for TV audiences. For some of us old triathletes, from a purist point of view, they just sort of damage triathlon by making it drafting. But it's become, a terrific sport, and it's obviously brought it to TV audiences.
Didn't they recently allow it a bit more as well, drafting in normal competitions?
I'll come on to that.
Okay, cool.
I'll come on to that, but yeah. The Paratri, these guys are awesome. Guys and girls are absolutely awesome. These are obviously, this is Taylor Brown, British, world champion, Lauren Steadman, who's just won the European champ at Vichy. So Paratri, all the different varieties of disabilities, whether those are mental or physical disabilities and so on, you'll see from the Paralympics. Those, again, are non-drafting.
What's drafting? Sorry.
You're teeing me up for my next slide.
Okay.
She's good. She's really good. And, yeah, so as I say, multiple categories, so you're not racing, different... The ones that get me, blind athletes. You've got totally blind athletes sitting on the back of a bike doing 70 kilometres an hour on a tandem, and they just riding. And having done a blind swim with a guide, and then obviously the blind run, with a guide.
Do they have to get a guide that's also an athlete then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that Olympics have a problem in the Paralympics because of the guide hurt himself, and then the girl lose the medal.
Oh.
Yeah, and the guide must not cross the finishing line before the athlete.
Yeah.
And the guide doesn't have a name on. You'll see, the names are there. The guide just has guide. But they do get a medal. And they are still athletes, and they're still, bloody superb. Okay, age group. As you're saying, that sprint races are now starting to become draft legal. The standard non-drafting. I'm a strong swimmer, a strong cyclist, and a shit runner. Why the hell would I do a draft legal race? I'll tell you about drafting. Huge number of athletes. And obviously they're aging from sort of 16, and I put 80 plus, which isn't doing it service really, because we have got 90-year-old athletes, world champs and so on. Often only one in the gauge group category, but they've still got to get around the distance to get the medal.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it is good fun. What is drafting? Okay. Have you ever watched geese fly? Yes.
Yeah.
You watch geese fly, right. They fly in formation. They fly in like a V formation. Have you ever watched elite cycling? It looks like that.
Yeah.
They all fly right behind. 80% of the effort is saved by sitting behind someone, which is why geese will fly in formations. They're drafting behind each other. And the cyclists are all drafting behind each other. So these guys aren't doing anything much. Well, they're riding at 60 kilometres an hour, but this guy's doing all the work.
Yeah, so you don't want to be the person at the front then?
So they rotate.
Oh, okay.
So they rotate all the time. So yes, you don't want to be the strong cyclist who's a shit runner who tows all the cyclists round and then goes bye.
Yeah.
When they start their run, which is why I do standard try, which is a non-drafting event. But that's what drafting is. So drafting, there are rules about it. So anything T100, Ironman, standard races, any of the non-drafting races you'll find in the UK, for example, you've got to have a 10-metre gap between the front wheel of the bike in front of your front wheel, and you have 20 seconds to complete an overtake manoeuvre. Otherwise, you get a flag, you get a penalty, you get disqualified after multiple events. So, and it's cheating, basically, fundamentally. If you're drafting, you're cheating. I wasn't always. So, I've mentioned I've done IT for 30 years. I spent a lot of time travelling, doing what all other people are doing, getting on the train, spending time in hotels, drinking a lot.
Expense me.
Going to the next hotel, expensing another meal. Yeah. And 2 weeks ago, I was in Vichy competing in the European Tri Champs. Me not competing at that point because I didn't have the photo of it just come through. And this year I got my best time as a triathlete as an international event. So yes, I'm doing all right. But don't forget, it's 5-year age groups, so I'm not competing against the guys who are in their 20s because they're bloody fast. And then in 2 weeks' time, I'm out to Torremolinos for the World Aquabike Champs. I was 5th in Pontevedra last year at that. Like I say, I'm a strong cyclist, strong swimmer, strong cyclist, and my run lets me down. So I was 14th in Vichy, so I was 5th in the Worlds last year. I'm hoping to go a little bit better. I'll put it out there. I'm hoping to go a little bit better and try and come home with some tinware. So where did it all come from? Well, I go back to school. I wasn't particularly sporty. Oh, bloody hell, we've got to go and kick a rugby ball around and throw a rugby and get cold. And, we were all out there freezing our selves. And the PE teacher would be leaning against the rugby posts in his nice warm coat and his tracksuit, having a smoke. Like, oh, run, Burnett, run harder! I hated it. All of a sudden I decided to... We used to do annual cross country. I don't know whether other schools still do the annual cross country, which is go and run 3 times around the field, or 3 times. For us, it was running around Priory Park in Reigate. 1 year, I suddenly went, if I run instead of walking around with all the other chaps at the back chatting, if I run, I might get the early bus. I'll be get home earlier. It's like 20 minutes early. So I ran and came 7th. So all of a sudden, so my inspiration for sort of being sporty was not driven by sport at that point. It was driven by getting home earlier. But I did enjoy cycling. I worked in a bike shop, and for my 18th birthday, I used my my shop savings and a bit of cash, and I bought a Rally Triathlon, which was the first proper racing bike that I had, proper lightweight frame. Still got it. Still hung in the garage. Doesn't get ridden very much anymore. And my first tri event was 91 when I did the Ampleforth Tri. I was living in York. I joined White Rose Tri, got into it, just calmly, casually doing a few odd races. I go back to the early days. The sport really wasn't very well defined. We had, it's now very much you swim, you bike, you run. The time starts when you get in the water, and it finishes when you cross the finishing line. And if you're doing a pool-based event, you'll get 3, 2, 1, go. You're in that, you go, and it's timed over.
Sorry.
I'm going to break that. It's timed over a while. So you'll go in at different times. Obviously, you can't have 400 people going in a pool at the same time. But you can start with 3-minute intervals or something like that. Some of the early events I've done we did open water with no wetsuits. Bloody hell, it's cold. Cool. I've done a swim, run, bike. I've done swim, bike, run, and they had a 15-minute gap between each one. So you came out of the water and they wrote your time down, and you had 15 minutes to get your shit together to get on to the next thing. It's like, this is just, it's just weird. But nobody knew what they were doing at that point. It wasn't really very well defined. It's now very structured and so on. I moved around the country quite a bit. I left York, got made redundant from BT. Back in those early halcyon days of you first, shit, what happened? Get another job. Cash, thank you. I gave up a bit, then I moved into Wrexham where I am now, and I joined Wrexham Tri. My neighbour looked in the garage and saw my bike hanging there with some tri bars on the front. He said, "Oh, you do triathlon? Oh, come and join Wrexham Tri." So I did, and he then said, "We should do an Ironman before we're 40. Yeah, okay. At this point, I was going to say, not very healthy. I was considerably overweight. The nurse called us in for a well-man check. It was the sort of thing that was quite handy at the time. I don't think they have time for anymore, which is a real shame. Blood pressure's a bit high. Carrying a bit of timber. How old was your dad when he died again? My dad died when he was 51. So I was 19. Maybe you should just think about changing your lifestyle a little bit. And I took up the challenge. So I did. I suddenly heard about the Big Woody, which is a long course event, it was an iron distance event. That was in 2007. Very low key, but I'll give that a go. Pissed off my neighbour because he didn't do it at that point, but I got in there, a couple of years earlier than him. And I did all right. I'd lost, the training, I dropped a lot of weight, got fit, got healthy. I did all right. I did it in 10.5 hours. And then I went back in 2008, determined to do better. So I trained, a bit, trained some. Went back, I was fitter, I would go back for it, and the weather was horrendous. Instead of going round in nice conditions, I got hypothermia on the run. Well, I got hypothermia on the bike and then on the run. I was like gutted because I could see my time just disappearing away from me on the bike. I could see that I wasn't going to make under 10 hours, which was my target. The overall winner did it in just over 11, and he was a semi-pro. So, yeah, the weather conditions did let us down. But I finished. So, okay, do you fancy doing Ironman? You're quite into it, yeah. The training is long and boring. There's no other word for it, I think. It's
brick session.
You're taking about a 16 to 20 weeks plan where you are just building up very slowly, consistently building up, doing more and more and more to the point where you're doing a couple of 100-mile bike rides and a couple of 2.5-hour runs, but not slamming it all together. You sort of like you have it. Okay, so Wednesday evening is your 2.5-hour run, and Sunday is your 100-mile bike. It's very much your focus for that 20 weeks or so on, that's my race, that's the race I'm doing. And there's countless people who've done that, they've got injured, and that's it. Season's over. Or they turn up to an event and they have a mechanical failure or something. That's it. Race is over. People have been pulled out of the swim. Some people were doing Ironman Wales. 8 minutes into the swim, were being pulled out of the water because the sea was pretty rough. So instead of being out there for 16 hours, they were out there for 8 minutes. They paid 250 quid for that. So from that perspective, it's not so good. But there is also the badge. Yeah, I've done Ironman. The event itself, Big Woody 2007, was really fun. It was the first time they'd done it, the first event. That weekend, they did a 5K charity run on the Friday, the Big Woody itself on the Saturday, and then they did a sprint duathlon on the Sunday. So me being me, I entered all three. Because why not? We got a special T-shirt for it. The 5K charity run was, chapter 5 room, we'll go and run a 5K. Big Woody was great. Got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, had some food, got taken in a bus to where the lake was, swim in 2 lakes, and then hop on the bike. So I'd go, I could see this guy up the road. I'm having it. I was off on the bike, and I caught him at the top of the hill, and then went, shit, I've got another 111 miles to go. So, and 4-lap run. But yes, I did enjoy it. And bizarrely, the sprint duathlon the day after, I got to the start line. It was a 5K, 20K, 5K. I could barely walk. I hobbled my way up to the first corner and I thought, this is just going to go badly. But I did the 5K and I got on the bike and just flew. 20K was nothing. I just, the day before I'd ridden 180K. And the last 5K was fine. After that, I was fine. I'd loosened up. Everything was good. All the stiffness gone. All the other people who'd raced the following day, we were all camping, by the way. We were camping on the side. Oh God, I can't move. And I just done a job. Hey, I'm fine. Because I'd loosened up. So my coaching tip, if you go and do an Ironman, get on the bike the following day. Just go and do 10 miles easy. Just loosen everything out. 2008, as I say, the weather was horrendous, and they used the National Diving Centre, so had a big lake, and people say, how deep's that? 80 metres deep. Oh, are you not scared? I didn't need that much to swim in. I'm not going down. But there was a long drag up it was at the bottom of Quarry, so there's this long drag up to transition, and then the weather was shit. So anyway, cool. So I've done a load of sprints and stuff. How am I doing for time, by the way?
You're fine.
I'm waffling, aren't I?
You're fine.
I've done all distances over the years, but I've really focused on standard distance now. And some big advantages to this. I can train in a lunchtime. So I can go out and I can get a run in a lunchtime. I can swim in an hour session. The training easier. I do a lot of my biking now. I'm now doing a lot of my biking in spin sessions as opposed to getting out on the road, which sounds weird, but a lot of people use turbo trainers or something. I like the camaraderie. I like the fact that I'm with other people boosting the bike. If it all goes horribly wrong, I can just get off. It's absolutely consistent. If I'm going to go and do an hour of 240 watts, I can go and do an hour of 240 watts. You can't do that on the road. It's just traffic and rabbits and God knows what else.
Hills.
Well, hills, yeah. Big advantages. Did I? That didn't work. It doesn't go backwards. But did I say one of the big concerns about doing long courses? Most people who do long course, they're either already divorced, they're either or single, or they are very likely to be divorced. You have to have a very understanding boss. You have to have a very understanding partner, because your life just goes. Everything is about. So big advantage of doing the standard courses. I'm not divorced. The downside is it's hard effort as opposed to long course stuff. It's a lot of very, very steady state. The short course stuff is all about maximum effort. Half Ironman is that kind of really awkward split between solid hard effort, but for twice as long. Whereas Ironman is, you do actually back off quite a lot. So what about the GB squad? That's me. That one there, holding the Welsh flag, because I thought, sod you. I got it there. I got into trouble for that. So yes, in 2011 I qualified for the first time for the GB squad. So let's talk about how that happens. Each age group, 5-year age group, so I'm now 55 to 59, there are 20 places allocated to the GB team for people who want to take up. We have 3 allocated races that are for qualifying. You have to be in the first 4 of your age group in one of those and within 115% of the winner of your age group, which is all right unless somebody like Clint turns up and goes and does it in 58 minutes and the rest of us going around like 2 hours. So yes, you've got to be to meet the qualification criteria. Yeah, first of all, in one of the 3 allocated races. So again, the list comes out, and there are these races that you have to go and do. It is possible to negotiate with them, but it's really, really hard to say. But hang on a minute, I went and won such and such. But they're struggle. If you're in the top 10 overall and the top 3 Brits at a previous European or World Championships, you can pre-qualify for a European or World Championship from the previous year. So, because I was the first Brit in the aquabike at Pontevedra, I automatically qualified for that last year. I automatically qualified for this year, but I'd already qualified anyway because I was in another race. Or if you're British champ, if you go and win the British champs, okay, you get PQ. So as you can see, there's 12 spaces there, but that's not all 20. So then what's left, if there are no PQs, there's a potential of 8 roll downs. So they'll take a percentage of your time compared to the age group winner, and then say, and then they'll roll those down. They'll fill the spot. And then if somebody then pulls out, they can roll it down. They can keep rolling it down because there are a lot of people who want to go for it. In my age group, anything from 40 onwards, you find about 60 people will apply to get 20 spaces. And you know that people will drop out the World Champs next year in Wollongong in Australia. Not a lot of people can afford to go out there, so fewer people will turn up. 2013 was London. Huge number of people wanted to go there. From
Did you have to pay for yourself then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though you're representing?
Yeah. You have to pay for your kit, you have to pay for your travel, you have to pay your entry fee, you have to pay for a triathlon. Yeah, it does get expensive, and it is like so many of these things, it's an expensive game. Well, Matt, I've been to all these places.
Oh, cool.
So the ones in green are World Champs. So my first race was Europeans in Pontevedra. So then I've done Worlds went out to Beijing, Auckland. These were good races. I took the kids out to Auckland. We had a 3-week holiday down there, and the school was like, yeah.
Back when you could do that.
Well, it was, they were primary school kids at the time. The kids and the headmaster was just like, they'll benefit more from being with you, watching a race, and getting the experience of 3 weeks in Sydney. In New Zealand. Because we raced South Island back to North Island. Chicago, I got in as a very, very late roll down. I went to Chicago. I'd nearly killed myself with food poisoning about 3 weeks before, and I was still not very well, but I had an absolute blast. I had a lovely, lovely race because I just went round. I just went, I'm just here. And there was no pressure, and I came 100th, which was pretty shit by comparison to my other races, but it was great. As I say, Pontevedra and Madrid were last year. Madrid was horrendous. It was meant to be a triathlon. It was like, if they'd let us swim, I mean, the lake they wanted us to swim in, they put in the toxicology tests and came back going, this is worse than a septic tank. So, funnily enough, we didn't swim. They made it a duathlon, but they measured it wrong. So we did a 6K, then a 40K, then a 12K, and I'm not a runner, so bye. Coming up, I've got Torremolinos World Champs coming up now. Istanbul coming up. Did that click? Mm-hmm. There we go. There. Istanbul and Wollongong for next year. So I've already qualified for those. So that's the hope I can go to. I have a page on World Triathlon with all my races, which is quite nice because you actually get, once you've done with something like a European or a Worlds or something like that, you actually remember, I've got an athlete number, an athlete page on the World Triathlon site, which is quite cool. But I don't get a photo. The elites get photos. Okay, equipment. I just bought a new bike, but that's quite a cool bike. I still quite like it. It takes a fair amount of equipment. For a basic sprint pool-based triathlon, all you need is a swimsuit, a bike helmet, and a pair of running shoes. That's all you need. Open water, you probably want a wetsuit. After that, it gets expensive and silly because you can start buying speed. And like you need a bigger computer, but you need a bigger, faster disc wheel, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it gets a bit silly, but the minimum equipment you need, as I say, something to swim in, something to then run and cycle in, and you can pull a t-shirt on. Obviously, a tri-suit is quick because you just wear it for the whole lot, and you must have a bike helmet. After that, nothing else is essential. The bike has to be roadworthy. That's the other thing. I've seen people do events on mountain bikes. I've seen them doing on a rally shopper. I literally saw somebody do a standard distance event, and they had a rally shopper with a basket on the front.
Or a Brompton in a sprint.
Bromptons are really popular to see. People race Bromptons. But obviously, TT bikes are faster for a reason. Equipment has changed over a while. So here are two photos of me. 2012 out in New Zealand. You can see the position was really low. And if you look at the pro cyclists as well, you'll see the same pattern. position was low. It was all about getting the front end down, getting low, having your arms out in this sort of TT position. I went and had a bike fit this year, and the bike fitter said, yeah, you've got a great position for 2010, or 10 years ago. This is what we're doing now. He dropped my saddle by over an inch. He raised the front up, and my back has come down, and the idea of the arms being up there is that you're not getting this block of wind hitting your chest. So instead of the block of wind here, wind just hits this big hole and sits there.
Right.
Whereas the idea here is you've got your arms up higher, the air is deflected down around your backside.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, after that, it's, the bike, the tri-spoke and the disc and all that kind of stuff hasn't changed hugely, except for now, instead of going on 19mm skinny tyres at 120 psi, we're now riding 32mm tyres at 70 psi. And I cannot work it out, but apparently it's faster. All the science shows that fatter tyres at lower pressure are faster than skinny tyres at high pressure. All the testing and everything shows this. And yet it just doesn't make sense in my head. It doesn't compute. But it seems to be that if you've got more air volume and the tyre rolls over the road better, you get a better grip on the road and it's lower rolling resistance because of that sort of bigger air volume. Weird. I'll tell you what though, it's damn sight more comfortable. Because these are 120 psi. These skinny tyres are 120 psi. You may as well be riding on solid rubber.
Feel everything.
And you feel every bump, and you bounce over every bump, and you skip on it. And our roads are shite. They're in Vichy as well, by the way. So there's changes. Travelling, bicycle. This was the title of the book that I never wrote. You've got to travel. So you end up stripping a bike down, putting it in a box, and going to a hotel, and living in a hotel, and you've got to take the bike apart. So it is not so easy. Flying with a bike is okay, right? Even EasyJet are okay with bikes. Ryanair aren't. Emirates, people like that, companies like that are great. They just go, yeah, you've got a 60 kilo weight limit. Do as you will. Maximum weight on any one bag is 32 kilos. Wow. So they're absolutely fine. Getting to the other end, when you have to get in a taxi, that can be awkward. Getting on a bus isn't so bad, but yeah, and then you really need to know how to. Other people strip down. We'll get a mechanic to strip down the bike and pack it, and then get the team mechanic to reassemble it. Really, you should do it yourself. If you can't fix a tyre, your race is over. So really, it's worth learning about basic bike mechanics and knowing how to look after your bike and so on. Save you a fortune as well. But dismantling and reassembling bikes in hotel rooms, that's entertaining.
Pretty fun.
And you sneak this bag into the hotel room, and then you come down with the bike in the lift. But Abu Dhabi was amazing because we were staying where a lot of the pros were. So Flora Duffy was staying in the same hotel, and a lot of Paratribe were there. So they had tandems going down the lift. But they were just incredible because they were just like, yeah. Some hotels were, no, we have a bike store downstairs. Like, fuck you do for this thing. It's cost $5 grand. Cake, yes. Yes, you put on a lot. You need a lot of calories. But it's a tricky balance because it's very easy to overeat, as I have found since I got back from Vichy. I have put on about 4 kilos since I got back from Vichy, which I now have to get off before I go to Torremolinos. This was Beijing, as you can probably tell. We didn't like the hotel food very much. The hotel was great. They wanted to put on Western food for us. This is Beijing, and one of our tour guide host people were sitting down with some other locals, and they were just having a takeaway. How do we get that? Can we get that? Can we get that? And they did. And they went and they ordered us a takeaway. They got us a takeaway in, and it came in proper bowls, not plastic crap, but proper bowls with a plastic bag in. So you open the plastic bag and net out the plastic bag. The problem is then, the guy's then waiting. There's a guy who delivered it, was then waiting for us to finish eating so that he could take the bowls back with him. And we didn't realise. We were just sitting there with a beer and In Beijing also, though, I got something quite badly wrong. So this me crossing the finishing line, I had made the mistake of going down to breakfast in the morning, and instead of just having something quite light, but porridge or something like that, fried eggs. I love fried eggs. Oh, and that high five with extra caffeine in drink. I'll have some of that. I shat myself on the run. Sorry. So yeah, when it goes wrong, it can go quite nastily wrong. So this is me crossing the finishing line, and somebody said, "Oh, did you have did your suit ridden up?" Yeah, I'll just say that.
That's what it was.
It's long enough ago, I can admit it now. Okay, so let's sort of bring it round. InfoSec is a bloody tough job, and we're all in InfoSec people, or were, or whatever. So what's the relevance? I think there's a lot to be said for doing sport for your mental health as well as your physical health. And the two go hand in hand, really. If you've got really bad physical health, your mental health will drop. You just won't be able to do things as easily. SOC analysts probably last about 3 years before they're burnt out because the work is tough. CISOs remain in role for about 18 months. I mean, these are stats that have been collated properly. This is not just me going, yeah, I couldn't be bothered. I left. You see, I've worked with teams when all of a sudden somebody goes off and they have a nervous breakdown. It's really tough on them. They never come back exactly the same, and they go off. They'll have 3 months off, become 6 months off. They never come back the same. They are never quite as able to focus, and they're never invigorated. It's like you say, well, you break your leg, but it's all right, it'll mend, you'll be fine. It's not. Your leg remains broken for years afterwards. So, and I think with the mental health, it has this. The other thing, of course, is if you have somebody that goes off on the sick for whatever reason, the rest of the staff now have to pick up that one S. So you've got 10 people, one goes. You've got 9 people covering 10 people's work, and the workload, as we all know, is going up and up and up. So I do see sport as a really useful thing of sort of completely disassociating yourself from work. Here are some stats that came from SC Magazine. Please look after yourself. Stress is compromising work. It's not good. You cannot work 25-hour days, 8 days a week, as people expect. Interesting one there about the complaints. What are the factors? Well, this is the life of a security person, security analyst. It's how often is security seen as a barrier? If you're a CISO, whatever, all we ever hear from you is no. Well, yeah, we can do better than that. Let's have that conversation another time. We can do better at being more engaged with the organisation and so on. But basically, all of this lot is being dumped on your laps and in your heads, and you go, and it's always seen as a negative. I worked as a DPO for psychology cottages for a while. All I ever heard from customers was complaints. It took me a while to realise that they're not having a go at me, they're having a go at the organisation, and it's one person, so I get one complaint in a week. We've sold 15,000 holidays that week. We've got 14,999 over the moon happy customers who've had wonderful holidays. I see one complaint and I think they're all bastards. So a little bit of a reset is needed. I mentioned this. Physical health. Reduce your blood pressure, weight loss. You're physically stronger. You're less likely to get, catch the little bugs that are going around just by being sort of physically fitter, just getting out there. I'm not saying go off and run 10k every morning, but just move, get out, have a breather. Take half an hour at lunchtime, go for a walk. Don't just sit at your desk and think, I'll just eat something quick, I'll just get this done. No, get out. The other thing is, it resets your brain. And you go, no, that wasn't the problem. That's how I solved the problem. When you weren't even thinking about it. If you ever read, Did You Spot That Gorilla? It's a very common management book. I can't remember who wrote it. It talks about this idea of the primed mind. It's all in your head.
Just checking what time next one.
Sorry, I'm waffling. All this stuff is spinning around in your head, and you won't actually get to the solution until you walk out. Oh, tree. Oh, green. Oh, walk. Oh, shit, it's raining. Oh, that was the solution to the problem. It'll just come back into you. And that's what I mean by the mental reset and the disconnect. I used to find I'd go for a run at lunchtime, and I'd start the day again. And it'd be like having sort of 2 first thing in the mornings as opposed to getting to 2 o'clock in the afternoon and going, This is the other thing. You might not have ever considered doing a sporting event, whether that's a park run or a triathlon or an ultra run or whatever it is. You might take up fencing. It doesn't matter. Sport is won in the mind, not in the body. Yes, you have to be physically fairly fit. You have to be about par with the other people. But those elite athletes are all bloody incredible. But the best ones are able to keep that mental strength and push through. And if you watch the Olympics, and like Yi, I thought he was going to lose. I thought he was going to lose silver medal at the end of the run. And all of a sudden he won gold. It was just, he was going backwards and backwards, and suddenly, he overtook. And Hayden Well just lost it. And it was mental. Physically, those guys are about the same. Taking on a challenge that's beyond what you think you can do just gives you that little bit of a boost, a little bit of self-belief. You can do this. You can do something different. You can do something amazing. Triathlon, there's a lot of dedication, a lot of planning, a lot of, if you get that run in then and that swim in then, and then the organising yourself and packing the bike box and all that kind of stuff. Which actually helps other things, it just falls into place. This idea of a type A personality, where we're competitive and we're self-critical, tend to be driven and time-conscious, can also have negative, can be angry, can be a bit... But that can actually also be seen, if you need that on your CV, it's not a bad thing to have. Have you seen this? This is life. Your comfort zone. This is where the good shit happens. So you've got to step out, do something a bit different, do something that scares you. If you fancy a go, entry-level drug. I mean that. So 400 metre pool-based swim. Most people can swim 400 metres when it comes down to it. I mean, you see people, some people will do it in 4.5 minutes. Some people will take 15 minutes. Doesn't matter. It's the same distance. 20k bike ride, it's not unbelievable. And a 5k run, sort of park run. So you can go super sprint. Pool-based means you're not needing a wetsuit and it's comfortable and it's warm and you're inside and you've got the clean water and you've got the lane line to follow and so on. Open water can scare people. I do that, I appreciate that. If you're not used to open water swimming and you're not used to the fact that it's filthy and there are things in it, and I've got a friend who says, I will never swim open water because there's stuff. What if something touches my leg? What if? Okay, the sea can be a bit full of shit.
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish?
Like
me. I've swum into jellyfish.
Yes, like me.
It's weird. There is a small chance, if you really fancy, if you're really drawn into this, this is the British Triathlon website. There's Paris inspired. There are a few free events you can go and have a go. If you've never done it before, you can have a go. It's very tempting to go, I've never done it. Turn up in a big toilet.
Own it,
Yes. That's my comment. Yeah. Triathlon does take over your life. Here I am talking about triathlon at a security conference. Yeah, go figure. It can absolutely wipe everything else. You do need an understanding boss. You do need an understanding partner. You can do it in two ways. You can either go, I'm going to win, or I'm going to go and get round. Most people for an iron would say, I fancy that. I fancy getting the badge. I'll go and get round. But beware. It's addictive. It's really addictive. It's just like the worst kind of drug.
Point as well, someone's always got better gear.
Someone's always got better gear.
Behind as well, going, I wish I'd have bought that one.
Yeah, I bought a new bike. I go,
already,
yeah. I fall into this area, the tetchy grumpy. If I'm not training, you know, I can get grumpy. And this is, you've done your entry level, you've done your sprint race. Now you want the hard stuff. Mm-hmm. And you want the really hard stuff. Yeah, so that's the caveat. Now, it is possible to do it without this, but just watch.
You'll get there.
Why do I do it? That was me this year. 3rd place. And then I got a 1st place. So I've had a series of podiums this year in UK events. And I'm doing okay. And that's why I do it. I love it. It's fun. I have that camaraderie. I get to spout about it endlessly. And there is that other saying, of course, is, you know, how would you know if someone's a triathlete? They'll tell you. Yeah. That's me. I'm open to questions, of course, if we've got...
Well, we haven't got loan yet, so...
We're running over.
We are running over.
Sorry.
Okay.
I knew that.
You can have questions at the break. That's
and I'm happy to talk security with you if you really want to, but I imagine you're up to here with it. Right. Thank you very much.